Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent computer role-playing game. This time, I'm taking a look at a soulslike Metroidvania/RPG light from a few years back. Developed by White Rabbit and published by Adult Swim Games, Death's Gambit was released on August of 2018. Death's Gambit is one of a fair number of 2D Metroidvanias that incorporated elements of Souls-like gameplay and RPG mechanics that were released a few years back. It is a pixel graphics, dark fantasy, action platformer with equipment, stat, and skill progression focused on dodge and block-based combat and branching world exploration. In terms of plot, you play the part of a mercenary who is cut down during a battle by an immortal warrior. Striking a deal with death, you are granted a reprieve. Caught halfway between life and death, you set out to find the source of the immortal's power and destroy it so that death can continue with his job. When you start a new game, you create a new soul or character. You can select a class, which grants you starting gear, a special ability, as well as special ability score layout, and starting skills. There's the soldier, who is a decent fighter who gains soul energy through blocking. The assassin, who is quick and gains soul energy by dodging. The blood knight, which is a warrior that regains health by attacking. The wizard, who is a magic user that gains soul energy when using healing feathers. The noble, who gets unique items and gains energy by using those items. The sentinel, a sword and board style warrior that gains soul energy by parrying. And finally, the acolyte of death, a finesse-based fighter that gains soul energy by killing enemies. You can also select an item gift, which varies from useful items and upgrade materials to other trinkets and gear, which is just one additional item that you start with beyond your usual inventory. Within the game, your interface has your health, stamina, and soul energy in the top left. Health represents how close you are to death, stamina is depleted by dodging and attacking, and regenerates over time, while soul energy is used to activate special abilities, and usually depletes over time as well. It is earned through combat and other means based on class. In the lower left are your weapons and special abilities. You may equip one primary and one secondary weapon, usually a melee and a ranged weapon. The special abilities beneath must be learned during play and are usually weapon-specific. Each requires the use of soul energy to activate, and some may give additional secondary effects while active. These secondary effects are listed in the upper right of the screen while they're active. In the lower right is your current soul shards, as well as your healing items/other items that you can switch through as you need. Soul shards are gained by defeating enemies and are used to purchase items and to level up your stats. You gain phoenix plumes during play that are your default activatable healing item. Visiting a shrine to rest replenishes these, and when you are slain you drop one and must retrieve it by going back to where you died. You also tend to respawn at these shrines, so they act like bonfires almost. If you have other items equipped, you may cycle through them to activate them. These can range from bombs to other healing items and other trinkets. In terms of statistics, each character has vitality that determines health points and the power of healing plumes, strength, used to equip heavy gear and as the damage statistic for heavy weapons, finesse, which is the damage statistic for finesse weapons and bows, endurance that raises stamina, intellect that affects spell damage, haste that increases stamina regeneration rate and decreases ability cooldown, and finally fear, which is gained during play. Characters can also equip 8 pieces of gear and up to 4 consumable items. The gear slots include the helm, cape, boots, the aura, and the plume, and finally the primary and secondary weapons as well as a shield. Items may require a certain amount of strength or finesse to equip, and are generally extremely simple, either offering a boost to one or more stats, or some special ability. Weapons have a damage rating as well as whether they scale off of finesse or strength, while shields have a toughness rating which determines how well they block damage. Over time, you may unlock talent points, usually after defeating a boss. These are used in the talent tree. There's 3 primary branches which affect how you deal with soul power and various attacks and defenses. This can allow you to further customize your build by progressing along these trees. Leveling up is done at shrines. This simply allows you to raise one of your primary ability scores and increases your hit points, as well as potentially damage or other forms of regeneration based on which stat you raise. Players of Soul-style games should be very familiar with this. Resting does respawn all non-boss enemies, so you can farm them if you need to. At the shrine, you can also sacrifice shards to reclaim a plume that you lost on death, if you don't think that you can recover it. You can also apparently trade plumes that you have for damage boosts. Over time, you can unlock various NPCs to purchase items from, as well as ones that will go ahead and allow you to upgrade your various gear. In terms of overall play, you can move left or right, jump, block, attack with a primary or secondary weapon, as well as dodge roll and parry. A kick allows you to kick shielded enemies to break their guard. It does most of what you'd expect of a 2D Souls-like to do, all on a map that allows for exploration in the manner of a roguelike, with platforming, climbing, finding switches, and other various secrets on the way. During play, you will encounter a number of different types of common enemies, but also larger enemies and boss creatures. Larger enemies may end up just being set dressing, like some of those involved in the Souls series, while bosses generally have their own arena and health bar, as well as their own attack routines. You can uncover tomes detailing the lore of various bosses, and these tomes can improve your damage against that boss once you encounter it, which can encourage exploration if you wish to face a boss at your absolute best. Once you get into the game a bit, play does open up quite a bit, offering multiple routes of exploration from a central shrine hub. A fair number of loops are incorporated into the level design, but these are mostly one-way loops, simply opening ways back to your prior areas once you unlock them. There's also an interesting horse mechanic to travel between some areas quickly. Some of the puzzle solving seems to be designed to allow you to open up new areas for your horse to get to, although most of the time you're fighting and exploring on foot. The main hub area does have a number of different NPCs that can sell gear and various skills, as I mentioned before, although the skills that they teach generally require particular types of weaponry to use. Graphically, the game uses an ornate, pixelated style that is, frankly, quite lovely. The animation is excellent, and the atmosphere of the game is actually very well done. There's all sorts of minor details, from background decorations and animations to little non-combat animals that pop up from time to time. The music is excellent as well, being atmospheric but not overbearing. It doesn't quite capture the bombastic style of Souls music, but it does a fair enough job of standing out to be its own kind of thing. The interface is straightforward, about what I'd expect from a competent entry into the genre. The writing is told in various cutscenes, some of which are interactive, and gives a more straightforward story than many titles in the genre, even if it is a little bit disjointed, being revealed in bits and pieces as you proceed. It is adequate, I suppose. I just don't think it matches the sheer artistry of the rest of the presentation. It does get the job done, however. My main problem with Death's Gambit, at least from my time playing it, was the controls. I'm used to Souls-like games, be they full 3D or 2D, having an odd balancing on enemies, difficult to maneuver through areas, etc. What makes games of that sort fun are how responsive the controls are and the options you can do in combat. Death's Gambit falls short in this instance for two main reasons. The controls are just a little bit awkward, which can be bad enough, but some combat options just don't seem to be quite fast enough or responsive enough as is. And I'm not sure whether this is just me and not being able to learn them real quick, whether it's an animation thing, or whether there's something inherent in the system designed to boost the utility of the haste stat. I mean, can you remember adaptability? For instance, the kick move is supposed to be useful to break enemy shield blocks so you can attack them properly, but I found that it was so slow and unwieldy that I couldn't actually land it between an enemy's attacks. Some of these enemies would get 2 or 3 attacks even while blocking, just in one kick. And that's even on the basic enemies that it first introduces you to the concept with. I found it much more effective to just attack the said shielded enemies until they stagger, which broke the shield state much faster than even a single kick would. Likewise, with the parry mechanic, it just seems so slow that a decent heavy attack would be more effective. Maybe it's just me and my old man reflexes, but I rarely have this problem in other Souls-likes, even mediocre ones. And while it was very much more effective to just spam attacks than use the mechanics, I can say if that's the case, then something may be up. That having been said, the game didn't seem all that hard, really, at least not until you were well into it. I'd say that it's a decent little 2D Souls-like. The leveling system might be a bit on the nose in terms of copying the Souls, mechanics, and the itemization is a little bit simplistic, but it certainly has a decent amount of style and flash, so if you're into the graphics and the style of the things, you may want to take a look at it, especially if you can catch it on sale. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here. As always, I will toss a link down below where you can pick it up. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday, Death's Gambit. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you're still watching this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported this channel via Patreon or direct donations throughout the years, without which this channel could not have lasted as long as it has. For those who are feeling particularly generous, you can still support my work through Patreon and now through Subscribestar as well, through the links in the description below.